The third big thing I want to get to revolves around another blue blood program, the North Carolina Tar Heels. And look, we've all been searching for answers for North Carolina since New Year's. We will learn a lot more about North Carolina after the Tar Heels go to Charlottesville on Saturday to take on Virginia. North Carolina has been mercurial during the month of January. North Carolina defensively has been obviously a major, major work in progress. The Tar Heels weathered the storm about their direction as a program under Hubert Davis by the way that they played in November and December. Won a game at home against Kansas, found a way to beat Ohio State in the CBS Sports Classic in a situation, obviously, where it lost a close game against Michigan State on Thanksgiving Day. Seth Trimble did not play in that game. But with all that said, North Carolina is in a situation now where it's entering the ultimate litmus test on Saturday at Virginia, who, if you've heard me here on this show, you know that I think that Virginia is a second weekend team in year one under Ryan Odom, and we had Ryan Odom on Inside College Basketball now earlier in the week. Check it out on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. But I like what Hubert Davis is doing with his backcourt. Hubert Davis, a couple of games ago, opted to move Derek Dixon into the starting lineup and bring Kyan Evans off the bench. Last night against Notre Dame, Hubert Davis also put Jaden Young into the starting lineup, who, again, has had a modest contribution, when he's played a lot of minutes recently. But Derek Dixon has much more long-term upside and a much more higher ceiling than Kyan Evans does as a starter. Derek Dixon offensively during this stretch for North Carolina in the last two games where he's been a starter has scored a combined 25 points. He's a big-time shot maker. He's somebody that has good size for the point guard spot. And I'm always somebody who's been an advocate of three-guard lineups over bigger lineups in college basketball. Rhythm, chemistry, flow is always better when you have three-guard lineups. So I feel like North Carolina now, from a role allocation perspective, from a chemistry perspective, from a rhythm perspective, has a situation with Dixon, Young, and Trimble where it's going to have that on the perimeter. And then obviously you've got the best 4-5 in college basketball with Caleb Wilson and Henry Vessar up front. And one thing that you're seeing now out of Caleb Wilson, and I was watching the game last night against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's not projected to be an NCAA tournament team by any stretch of the imagination, but Notre Dame is a capable team with a really good coach in Micah Shrewsbury. North Carolina was better defensively, but the thing I took away from the game, how good of a passer Caleb Wilson is. Early in the season, we talked about his accuracy on offense. We talked about his ability, obviously, on the glass. We talked about how his wiry body looks like he's really a clone of Marvin Williams, who was a big part of the 2005 national championship team for North Carolina. But the most underrated thing that Caleb Wilson does is pass the basketball. 9 assists in his last two games. And he is going to have to be on the level that he needs to be at if North Carolina is going to have a chance to beat Virginia on Saturday afternoon. It's one of the games this weekend that I'm looking forward to the most, because we have seen now North Carolina give us some really good moments, and the last couple of weeks they've given us some really alarming moments, giving up 95 plus at SMU, losing to Stanford and Cal on the road. This is North Carolina. And look, Hubert Davis is in year 5. Hubert Davis has been the head coach for 4 seasons at North Carolina. Year 1, national championship game loss to Kansas. Year 2, preseason number 1, missed the NCAA tournament. Year 3, 1 seed in the NCAA tournament, lose a heartbreaker in the Sweet 16 to Alabama. Year 4, limp into the NCAA tournament, lose to Ole Miss in the first round of the NCAA tournament in the round of 64. This is a pivotal couple of months here for Hubert Davis. And it's a pivotal couple of months for North Carolina. But here's what I'm going to tell you. This is all coming out in the wash in the near future, starting with Saturday against Virginia. North Carolina is 15-4 and 3-3 in ACC play. That means there's 12 regular season games remaining for North Carolina. I went over the schedule before I got on the air. 8 of those 11 games remaining for North Carolina are against teams that I currently project to be in the NCAA tournament. Because the thing now that's different about being a team in the ACC is this: you are not going to have cupcakes after cupcakes. You are not just going to have landmines that you have to navigate where the win really doesn't do much for you, but the loss is going to hurt you. No, these are real teams. And I think firmly right now, this is a poker game, and I'm shoving all my chips to the middle of the table. The ACC in 2026 will double its representation in the NCAA tournament from a year. That means that the ACC will have at least 8 teams hear their names called on Selection Sunday. And the ironic thing to me is this, and I was thinking about it last night as well. I was watching the end of the Virginia Tech Syracuse game. I talked a couple of weeks ago on this show about how many programs in college basketball are still operating as blue bloods. Obviously, Duke, Kentucky, UConn for sure. But there are also other programs below that level that have fallen off and haven't shown this season that much reason for hope. One of them is Syracuse. Syracuse has not been in contention for an NCAA tournament berth this season from what I've projected. Syracuse has not been in the NCAA tournament since 2021. And if you really want to do a deep dive and you really want to look at things big picture when it comes to Syracuse, Syracuse just hasn't been the same program since it left the old Big East for the ACC. Now, the first year Syracuse was in the ACC was 13-14, and Syracuse, with a roster that was recruited to the old Big East, was a 3 seed in the NCAA tournament. But the big runs that Syracuse has had in the NCAA tournament, and this is obviously when Jim Boeheim was coaching, 2016 Final Four, 2018 Sweet 16, 2021 Sweet 16, all 3 of those runs came as double-digit seeds in the NCAA tournament. Who's Syracuse's biggest rival? Georgetown. Georgetown, I thought, would be much further along in year 3 under Ed Cooley. Won a game early in the season at Maryland, and Maryland's obviously not great this year, transitioning under Buzz Williams. Won a game at home early in the season against Clemson. I thought Georgetown was going to be more of a factor in the Big East. Georgetown is really struggling. Georgetown is battling for relevance in year 3 under Ed Cooley. And here's one thing I've thought about watching Georgetown games this season at home where they have been exceptionally underwhelming. Is it time for Georgetown's administration to start thinking about putting a smaller venue on its campus rather than playing all those games in downtown Washington, D.C.? Because it's a lot to ask for a program to draw at a high enough level when they are being asked to fill an NBA caliber arena. Look at what's happened with St. John's and Rick Pitino. The reason why St. John's is able to put enough seats to make it monetarily worth the school's while at Madison Square Garden is because Rick Pitino is the head coach and St. John's is nationally relevant. St. John's wasn't doing this before Rick Pitino got there, making this type of a commitment to play at Madison Square Garden. It was playing at Carnesec Arena. Villanova has Finneran Pavilion, thanks to Jay Wright, but Villanova also always had the pavilion on campus. UConn has Gamble Pavilion. Xavier has the Cintas Center. There are a number of programs in the Big East that have a smaller, more manageable venue on their campus. I wonder if it's time for Georgetown to start thinking about that. Because what's happening right now is not benefiting Georgetown in terms of the home court advantage it needs to really turn a corner in the Big East. And you want to hear something sobering about Georgetown the last decade? Georgetown has not gotten an at-large berth to the NCAA tournament since 2015. And Georgetown has not been to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament since John Thompson III and my buddy Roy Hibbert went to the Final Four in 2007. That's 19 years ago.